it was only the men largely on LinkedIn that started commenting, and some of it was really vicious and aggressive. And two things stood out to me. One was that it was obviously the men commenting and sort of feeling bitter about it, and not even in a constructive way. But number two, where were all the other guys who otherwise are DMing you constantly saying, ma'am, you're an inspiration, ma'am, this, ma'am, that, ma'am, can I send you my CV? Or like, ab sab chupchap baith ke tamasha dekh rahe hain. Can the lady who comes to clean our homes, right, does she and her husband have that luxury? Tell me that. When we solve that and find a solution to that, you'll see women running the Unicorn Club.
या मैंने एक आइडिया सोचा है, लेकिन मैं किसी को बता दूंगा तो कोई चुरा लेगा तो नहीं यार. मैं इस आइडिया को बचाऊं कैसे? कोई लॉ है क्या इसके अराउंड? मेरी ब्रांड है ना, किसी और ने कॉपी कर ली, मेरा ब्रांड नेम कॉपी कर लिया, मेरे लोगोस कॉपी कर लिए. मैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कौन सा करूं स्टार्ट करने से? एम्प्लॉय से कैसे बात करूं? कितने सारे लॉज एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स अपने देश में. We've talked about all of them in today's episode. We've spoken about how you and I can save our startup idea, our brand, our content, everything which is our own intellectual property. कैसे इसको safeguard किया जाता है, कैसे इसको play around करके you can build a bigger brand. And as you grow, what are the things you need to keep in check as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as just someone who's just starting with their ideas, or just as an employee. कैसे अपनी ब्रांड को सेव करते हैं. We've talked about this with India's one of the best lawyers, Priyanka Khimani. She started her career with being the lawyer of Lata Mangeshkar, now deals with one of the biggest brands in the country like Sushmita Sen, AP Dhillon, Badshah, and many more. She is one of the best minds who can share a lot of ideas around how people can make, build and sustain their brands from not only the world but also from their competitors. Make sure you watch this really important episode because we have covered a lot of things which you don't want to miss out. School taught us many things. Maths, science, physics, English, and also taught us the fact that life is a race. And अगर तुम नहीं भागोगे ना तो कोई ना कोई तुम्हें कुचल के आगे निकल जाएगा. We've all learned this. But school never taught us how to win this race. School never taught us the real things which really matter, like how to build connections and network in the world so that it can help you grow in your career. How to manage your finances, how to build your personal brand, how to become financially independent, how to manage your emotions, how to build a business, how to sell, how to negotiate. कितनी चीज़ें हमें कभी सिखाई नहीं. These are the things which we really need in order to win this race. And I've written a book exactly on this, the things which we were not taught in school. The book's name is Build, Don't Talk. This is the exact book which you need in order to win the race of life. So make sure you go and check out the book right now on the Amazon. After like doing everything in the world, how do you feel like to be on our couch today?
Very happy. Is there a hamper?
The hamper itself, like we are hamper, like this is the opportunity.
Yeah, let's put a bow.
But no, it's fun. So that's that's good journey, I think. And that's you started the similar way that I started, and we both of us never wanted to become an actor. But do you want? No, it was just like to get the
means to an end. Same. Anything that helped you add to the kitty. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I had I've always been reader, follower, and I learn a lot from successful people and I read a lot about them. So I've realized successful people have two things sorted in their life.
Okay.
One is access to capital and access to distribution.
Yeah.
Right. We were just talking about entrepreneurs, right? They understand this thing very well. Even if there are so many entrepreneurs who are raised large amount of capital, they don't have, let's say, a right sense of business acumen to run that category, but they have access to capital and then they have the distribution to reach out to the right people,
right,
so that they put the right people to do the right job.
Right.
So that's what good entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
And that is what my head was, ki boss ab ye karna hai, and that's what I started figuring out.
That's amazing. I think though for me, capital holds a slightly different meaning.
Okay.
Right? One is of course in the literal sense. The other capital, which has been my capital, is the strength of relationships or network.
Yeah, human capital is again.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by capital, money and humans.
Yeah, I
That's
think
it.
for me it was more of that, and even today I feel that that is what is going to be my biggest wealth or biggest strength. And I think I do everything, that I'm very very conscious of it, because it is very it's hard earned, right? You don't really inherit those
Yeah.
per se. I think even if you did, it's up to you then how you nurture those relationships, how you add value. And I always feel every relationship, right, it's a two-way street, which sometimes down the road a lot of people forget. So even if someone has great capital, right, I think if you don't know how to give back and show up for the other person, then why is someone going to be invested in you alone?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's that's one thing that I think has been one of our biggest strengths, and it's extremely heartwarming. Like years later today, when people turn around and say, no, we remember that time, and Priyanka, let us help you with this. And I think it's just that sometimes just putting it out there with great intention, and
And
have
then it just works
fun
out
with
well.
it. Yeah, have fun with it.
We should talk more about it. Like, let's go deeper on the network thing, because I am a huge believer human capital. I believe कि तुम कितने भी talented हो, like तुम्हें कितना भी potential हो, there has to be one person जो तुम्हें right opportunity देगा, तभी तुम्हारा talent दिखेगा. If you
Huh.
don't have that right person, or if you don't meet that right person, it's so difficult for you to do anything. Because
Yeah.
let's say,
Yeah.
right person is going to give you an opportunity, right person is going to buy your product, right person is going to teach you lessons. So
Right.
it always has to be a person.
Right.
It can
Right.
never be without a person. So opportunities, no matter who you are, like you're in your head, you're like Iron Man, but
Correct.
you need
It's
people
coming
to
from
help you
people.
out,
Right.
right? So I've always been a big believer of. That's why the figuring out was my way to like reach out to my heroes, like people who I understand, and be like, boss, I need to learn something from them.
Right.
So can I learn something from them? Not only just by like, I know that most of the people who come on the couch, they're so gracious that you text them, hey, can you give me an advice? They would be more than happy to give me advice. But I'm like, let's go beyond that.
Right.
Okay. I'm like, can I give them something so that like I give them right platform to talk about their stories, their perspective, and right way to like just right platform for them to prove their thought leadership. And in exchange, can I learn a lot of lessons from them and build a relationship? And that's what the figuring out was.
That's
And that's what it is.
amazing.
Ki,
That's amazing.
I want to build a $1 billion company.
Huh.
Let's do it and learn it from the people who know how to build a $1 billion company.
Well, I still haven't, but
But you've represented people.
We get there. Yeah, represented billion-dollar
Represent
companies.
people. So like when I'm becoming unicorn, I want that thing to happen. I need the right
100%.
people.
I'm calling dibs on this show. If he's racing around and he becomes unicorn, then yeah, we're calling dibs on repping him.
So tell me, what makes Priyanka Khimani Priyanka Khimani? Like, it's just a very vague question, but I want to understand, like, what do you think? Like, can you think of an exact moment which you feel like that has shaped my life and maybe gave me a direction that I want to be a lawyer and I want to kill the world, or like kill in the world? Sorry.
Well, I don't know if there was a moment that said to me that I want to be a lawyer, but I certainly had a moment where that completely changed the course of my professional career.
Okay.
Right? And I'll address the first one. I did my undergrad in biotechnology. I was very clear that I didn't want to do my master's in that subject. I just had a really terrible experience through undergrad, not because of the subject, but just because of the environment in which I was learning it and the phase of my life that I was in. Plus, this desperate, really terrible financial situation where I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I've finished, I've gotten this graduate degree. And that's when it hit me that, okay, wait, I don't think I can go out into the world with just an undergrad degree. Everyone else is doing so much more with their educational careers. And so, law really was the reason to choose law, is because, yes, it sort of complemented what I had done in my undergrad. But more importantly, it gave me the flexibility of time. I would be able to finish law school in the morning and have the rest of the day to do what I was doing. And I was already writing extensively at that point of time, writing, assisting. I wanted to continue doing that for as long as I could afford to give myself that time and opportunity. Okay, whilst making some money. So that was a simple reason behind going to law school. But once I was in law school, I think it's one of those things, right, where just different things are meant to come together. It, I think, checked all the right boxes as far as my strengths were concerned. I was good with language. I was able to think and look at things logically. I was quick to grasp the subject, and I did extremely well. The first semester that I did well, I will admit, even though this is going to be on record, it could have been beginner's luck. Okay. But I think that was it. I think it's one of those moments, where you've been so, you're at rock bottom that you need that win. For me, that first semester in law school, that was my
First
win.
celebration.
I needed it. God knows I needed it. I did work hard, right? But I think I only realized the enormity of what had happened only once it unfolded, because everyone suddenly was like, oh my God, that girl, I'd done really well. And it got everyone to sit up and take notice. And here's where I think that inner competitive streak in us comes out,
Yeah.
right? Because in school, I was an extremely competitive student, a kid. I participated in a lot of things, represented my school in a bunch of activities, and always was sort of brought up with this competitive sportsman spirit, which
that goes without saying.
when I was in college. I was just lost, and I think I was lost for a variety of reasons. Of course, a big part of it was this whole pressure that I was dealing with, where it's like, okay, you got to make the money. It takes the joy out of everything you like to do, right? Like you enjoy writing, but oh, is it making you the money? I want to do this. Oh, par kitna milega? Like everything. I mean, till date, my mom, and I have to say this. Sorry, I'm digressing, but I am the creative consultant on this show that's being adapted. Actually, it just got announced. I can talk about it. The Good Wife, which is an American legal drama that's being adapted in India, and I'm a creative legal consultant on that show. And it was fun because I'm actually sitting in the writers' room with writers, and we're seeing how you can adapt a American legal show in an Indian context. So for me, it sort of brings the best of both worlds, because it goes back to my writing days, and now I obviously,
legal days as well.
right, and have this lawyer's journey that I've had. So I go and tell my mom that, oh, guess what? You know what? I'm going to be on this show. And can you imagine? I'm going back to writing after all of these years, and it's going to and I'm going to be a part of this writer's room and help them as a consultant. My mom, she's like, paise milenge? That's it. Because she's like, listen, मुझे ना इससे बहुत पागल बनाया, like, because earlier, even as a young college kid, I'm like, oh mom, guess what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, I'm writing on this, and I was a part of some really cool shows. Did I get paid? No.
Not really.
Right? So she's like, I've been down this journey, like, don't sell me this big spiel. So anyway, going back to this journey, right? I think I lost that part of me because of just constantly failing. Because I think the only measure of success was that, hey, are you making money? Right? Are you making money off of this thing? And as a young kid, that just leaves little or no room to experiment, to have fun, because you don't have the luxury of doing that. So when that first semester happened, and I did well, that was my win. And I think that kind of just prompted something in me where I'm like, I'm not going to let everybody around me think, because anyway I had this reputation in law school that I was already writing, modeling, I was doing theater. Now when you take someone with that personality and put them in a law school, people are just sort of already stereotyping you, right? That, oh, this girl who just knows how to sort of show up in a certain way, dress in a certain way, doesn't ये तो यही सब चीजें कर रही हैं types, like आप पढ़ाई में कहाँ से ध्यान देंगी? So then I was determined, and I was like, I'm not that girl who's not a good student, right? So I was like, no, gotta do this. Then it was the old Priyanka back in the game. I'm like, no, this is gonna happen. And I remember I still continued modeling and writing, and I would be on set, and I would carry my books, and I would sit and underline and study and do all of that. Of course, this is all no one found out, but I would be that girl in between shots, sitting and underlining and studying and getting ready for my exams far in advance of when they were really supposed to happen. Because I was like, no, I don't know when I'm going to get a gig, and I may not have the time close to exams to do it. So let's get this done today. But yeah, I think so. Really, there wasn't ever an intention to become a lawyer. But the one moment that I think changed the course of my career was the day that I spoke to my first ever client, Lata Mangeshkar.
Okay. She was your first client.
She was my first ever client. She was the first ever thing that I did with entertainment. Till then, entertainment was not on the horizon at all. I was working.
So how did you land up to like
So
Lata Mangeshkar is no joke. Like
and
let's just
it's so beautiful, and I think I'm slightly spiritual like that, where I feel that the universe just brings different things together and different experiences and people together in your life to get you to a certain place, right? I started working with this law firm, did my articles to be a solicitor. I was working doing commercial litigation, did a lot of shipping and maritime related matters, insurance, reinsurance, just commercial litigation. Dur dur tak nothing to do with
with the entertainment.
IP or with entertainment, right? um, but deep down it was an interest. It's something that I specifically chose in my one of my final semesters in law school, that I want to do intellectual property. So in theory knew a lot about the subject. Through the course of working the first few months, I picked up quite a bit in as far as litigation was concerned. And then I get a call one evening from a gentleman that I had assisted for a long time, who said, that listen, there's someone who needs assistance, and can I put you on to that person? And all he knows now is that listen, my prodigy has become a writer. It's one of those, right, कि घर में भी एक कोई डॉक्टर बना है, तो आपका सर दुख रहा है या पेट दुख रहा है, आप उसी को फोन करें. He's one of those. आपको समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि अरे पर मतलब वो इस चीज का डॉक्टर नहीं है, right?
So lawyer इसकी नहीं है, but she was an
पर
assistant.
सब ये लॉयर है ना, मुझे एक ही वकील पता है मेरे फोन बुक में, तो I'm gonna call Priyanka. It was one of those. And I was like, okay, but tell me who is the person. And they're like, you'll know. And the next thing I find out is I am on the phone talking to her, talking to Lata Mangeshkar, and listening to all of the facts and what she needed help with. And that was it. I did that matter. I obviously took it to the partners in the firm because I needed assistance, right? I was ultimately a young lawyer. But here's where different worlds come together, right? What I probably lacked in terms of years of legal experience, I made up with when it came to my experience in entertainment. Those 8-10 years of just having worked and assisted and being on a set and just absorbing so much from your environment, I think I was so well equipped to understand what had transpired, put different pieces of the puzzle together, sit down with her, understand it, and ultimately we did get an extremely successful outcome for her. And kudos to her. And this is why I feel that I think that one phone call and her presence changed my life for the better.
Your life changed. Okay, I have a question. What do you think, according to you, now that you look back to your journey, what do you think there was like a quality in you, or maybe what was there in you which made her trust you? Or which made her, because she was big already, right?
It's massive.
So
And the
at that-
dispute was a massive
Exactly.
one that we
So
were
she
doing.
could have gone to any goddamn lawyer in the country or
Absolutely.
maybe the world. She could have gotten anyone. Why did she decide to go with someone as young as you and be like, "ठीक है, what happened on the phone call?" I was like, "You're the one."
I think I didn't want, there was no vested interest in doing it. Let's put it like that. And I think till date, that's probably one of the things that gives a lot of my clients comfort, that you are not in it because you want something out of it, right? I don't want, it wasn't the swag value of saying, oh, I'm Lata Mangeshkar's lawyer. In fact, for years, no one knew. Till date, actually, no one knows what the matter was that we advised her on, right? So I think it's that, to give 100% of yourself with no expectations. It's pure service. When you're able to serve anything or any person in your life like that, I think there's beauty in that, isn't it?
Big thing which happened with me on the podcast as well when we started. So I started doing podcasts like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I started 4 years ago, stopped it. Then 3 years ago, I started doing it again, stopped it. Then 2.5 years ago, did it for a long time. Nobody got to know. And since last now 18 months, my podcast really picked up because it picked up because of the same fact. Because then when I came to Bombay and I was like, now that my creator journey is going good,
Right.
okay, everything is great.
Right.
How can I become a reason for these people, like who are like really big people who have done something crazy in their careers, right? An opportunity to show their side of story.
Yeah.
And that's why we like just talk. Like, come here.
Absolutely.
So I'll give you an example, right? This is again like a little political, but when So things were going really bad for, let's say, Ashneer. Okay, like everybody was bashing him left,
Yeah.
right, center.
Yeah.
We went up and with an opportunity, boss, we want to hear your side of story.
Right.
Like we're not here to judge you.
Right.
Like maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. Let the court or the system judge you.
Yeah.
You have built something and we want to understand how. So you're smart because you've built something. Let's talk
course.
about that. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to let you put your story out in the world and let's see how it goes. And that's what we do. Like we never put out, like we're never out there and talking bad mouthing people or to try to get like controversy out of people. We always
Right.
use like, this is an opportunity for you to come out and just let's talk about your perspective, what you know about the world.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And that's where the big shift also happened on my podcast.
That's true. You're right about that, actually. And I think there's something to be said, right, about this whole cancel culture and troll culture. I see so much. I think just a few days ago, there was someone else who said, something about working 18 hours a day. And
Tomorrow he's the guest on my podcast.
love it. You really know how to time this.
No.
You're like, tell us what you meant when you said 18 hours. No judgment. This is a safe space.
He's a friend of friend. So we just connected and vibed. And I was like, let's talk about it. Because I don't mind saying it, even though like I've gotten cancelled like
I was
2
just
times
going to
before.
say, there was something that happened even recently, right?
Yeah. Like with me, like I got
Yeah.
cancelled. I said, I was on the plane. Okay.
Huh.
And I was watching this. You're in music, you would know. Have you heard of Defiant Ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
it's by Dr.
Yeah.
Dre. And I'm a huge. So I get all my inspiration from sports people and hip hop artists.
I love it.
These are the people
Okay,
like
we're going to get along fabulously.
yeah, like I love them. I love the journey of Dr. Dre, how he became what he became. Like
Yeah.
how he built like beats and then before his records and all. So I was watching that, and there's a line where he says like, Jimmy says that like, I love working. It's not that I can't do anything. I just love working. So on the plane, I was just like got down and I tweeted, I was like, hey guys, you know what? Even if I have like 25 hours a day, I would still work for 26 hours because I fucking love the grind. Like I love working. And I got so bashed, like so bad. It's like, and now people don't get the context. The context was, I have worked, even though I look like very young right now, but I've worked for 10 years. I started working at 16 or 26 now. And it took me 10 years to reach where
That's
I have
amazing.
and design my life in a way where I'm loving my work. You never start on day one where you like love your work. Like it's horrible, right? Now that I love, because just look at like, what is my work?
Yeah.
Technically, my work is talking to interesting people.
Yeah.
Who cannot love this?
Yeah, I wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah. So if I'm talking about that, like I've designed my life in a way and I still want to work and I love doing this and that's, so I got cancelled. I was like so bad, bashed like left, right, center. Everybody's thrashing. Oh, you don't care about, like, why are you celebrating toxic hustle culture? I'm saying I'm not celebrating.
Hustle to kar lo pehle, then we'll decide toxic or not. No, like a lot of people ask me, right, that, oh, how many hours a day do you work? And, whatever, like this whole work-life balance. And recently we actually got recognized as one of the best
Work-life
places, right,
yeah.
for work-life balance. So it's more of a conversation, but I completely get what you're saying because the honest truth is that might sound a bit too philosophical, but for me, it's not work. I treat everything, for me, it's like, it's my play, it's my creativity, it is my art. I treat building this place as, and just all of the different projects we do, for me, it's making art.
Exactly.
Right? And I was like, bus, when you're a musician, आप हफ्ते का दिन देख के तो compose nahi karoge na. You're not just saying that, oh, it's Sunday, today I can't think of a tune. It'll come to you. Yeah, you don't see what time of day it is, and then you want to like just get down to it and put it down before it sort of escapes you. I think it's pretty much the same with me and with work because it's your baby. You built it from ground up. I'm like, there's no. I think that I will stop the day I have to think that, अरे यार नहीं छोड़ा आज weekend आज तो नहीं हुआ. I think when I reach that, I'll know that okay, it's time for me to move on to something else.
Yes.
Right, because then that's my trigger that I'm not enjoying it anymore. But yeah, speaking of cancel, though, I think I saw a little bit of a glimpse of that just 2 days ago because I got sort of cancelled on LinkedIn. Okay. It's really small and stupid, and I think compared to what you and some of the others have witnessed, but it was my first, I think, taste of what happens. And it's very interesting. So what happened? I posted a quote that was about sexism and basically saying how I don't let sexism bog me down, and that women do have a lot of things going for them
Yeah.
that men don't, and that we shouldn't.
But that's true.
Thank you.
That's true.
You.
Like it's no joke. Like it's
Yeah,
true.
like I think multitasking is one of them, and just so many different things, right? But interestingly, it was only the men largely on LinkedIn that started commenting, and some of it was really vicious and aggressive. And two things stood out to me. One was that it was obviously the men commenting and sort of feeling bitter about it, and not even in a constructive way. But number two, where were all the other guys who otherwise are DMing you constantly saying, ma'am, you're an inspiration, ma'am, this, ma'am, that, ma'am, can I send you my CV? Or like, ab sab chupchap baith ke tamasha dekh rahe hai. So
Yes.
I think that's something that really I
Bothered
find
you, like, a little
not
bit.
bothered. I find it very amusing. I mean, I'm thick-skinned like that because I deal with this for a living for clients who are facing this day in and day out, right? Like my specialty is to deal with media crisis. So I was like, my best formula is don't react.
Yeah.
The more you engage,
Yeah,
the more
100%.
wind you're giving to it. So like, don't react. But I was just sitting and thinking, I'm like, this is so interesting. Like, हमको सबको बहुत मजा आता है to just be silent bystanders.
Yeah. It's not also about maza. Most of the people just feel like, मैं क्यों पढूं? Like, why should I care?
Yeah. But I guarantee you there are also screen grabs that are circulating on WhatsApp groups.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. 100%. Now you tell me first, how different law life is from this what we see in Suits? Like, this is the most common question, but I want to ask you specifically because now you've been to a life, you have celebrity clients. You have that like good offices. You have that life. You dress up well.
I was just going to say, I think मेरी life में there have been quite a few Suits moments.
Oh shit! Damn! I want to become lawyer again.
I think not just with me, even within the firm, I think we've had a lot of moments, including the name changes on the door.
Oh shit! Nice.
You had that, right?
Oh, nice.
I had my name put on the door of another law firm, and then last year I changed that and I took it down, and now I'm back to just having my name on the door. So there's been a lot of drama. So I think we've had enough.
Suits moment.
I was just gonna say there's enough in the last 10 years to cut out another season of our own version of Suits.
So we have Indian version of Suits coming out
soon.
Featuring once you stop enjoying this, you can act. Like, you can be Jessica Pearson of this.
Sure. Why can't I be Harvey Specter? I don't. I'll be a little bit of both.
Like just putting that name.
I'll be a little bit of both. I love both of them. But no. I think yes and no. There are. It has its moments, right? Of course, like you said, there is a side to the profession that is very poised. Very. Some of the lawyers are very well spoken, very eloquent, very well turned out. And at the same time, I love the academic, intellectual side of the profession. I love to nerd it out. That's me, right? That perfection that you need. Like, no, every comma has to be there. Every full stop needs to be where it needs to be. I agree with you that it needs that sort of attention to detail and that fussing over quality. And that's why I enjoy it, right? And I think for us, we've had fun while doing it. It's a lot of hard work that people don't realize because it's an intellectual profession. And I think one of the things that happens more and more today, and I face it all the time, is everything is required as of yesterday, right? Because we think everything is instant, everything is at your fingertips. Like, acha contract hai nahi to template hoga, aap copy paste kar do. But it's not. It's an intellectual job. Till date, I'm yet to do 2 contracts that are the same. Right? You could have, let's say I have still a structure, or I have like, sure, quote unquote, a template to go by, but there'll always be tweaks, right? There might be something, hey, this is just a routine brand endorsement, but XYZ, right? There is always something. So I don't treat it frivolously or in a flippant manner, because what I do, like you said, right? You trust your lawyer. You're like, you tell me it's okay, it's okay. So when people put that sort of trust in you, you better make sure that it is 100% okay. So I think everything's needed instantly, and it just sort of sometimes leaves no room to for people to understand that why is someone saying that no, this needs time and attention and attention to detail. It's only when they learn their lessons the hard way, or when shit has hit the roof a few years down the line, or a little bit during that journey where everyone's, and I say this, right? No one's signing a contract for a good day. You are only signing it for a bad day. That's the only time you go back and pull it out. And I have a saying that I learned from someone very intelligent that said that अच्छा, सस्ता और जल्दी तीनों मांगकर शर्मिंदा मत करना. Let that sink in for a moment.
Wow. You just killed the idea.
Do not steal this quote. ये बहुत special है. ये हमारे KNA में दीवार पे लगा हुआ है.
No, like I'm just saying, you just stole the thought of building products for the country. That's the idea of most of the startups, especially in the consumer front.
And maybe it works for them, right? But this is not a consumer product. Intellect, you are selling intellectual services. And that's where I think people, which is why I was going back to this start, when everyone thinks I want everything as of yesterday and I want it instantly and I want it now. This is not that. This is not like going and buying a product off the shelf.
Yeah.
But I think coming to my point of, what we were discussing about my journey as a lawyer and, what it's like and is it really like Suits? I think one of the biggest, it can be, and I think it has been, because there is zero compromise on my process, right? My process is my process. If you want to call that, and we hear all sorts of things, right? Oh, they're too expensive, or they're very difficult, or this, or that, and oh, nahi, bahut time lagta hai. But that's my process, right? Bahut time nahi lagta hai, but anyway.
Just putting it out,
yeah,
like,
just
okay.
Putting it out there. No, because
ये rumor है, normal time लगता है जितना होता है.
Because I'm like, I'm gonna do it the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying because of me. I'm saying I want to do it right because of you, right? Of course, my name's attached to it. There's quality. If something goes wrong, the first person whose head will roll is the lawyer.
Now let's go to the interesting part, and this is what I feel. So for me, this is the most interesting part of the podcast.
Okay.
The most interesting part is now we stop talking about the story.
Okay.
We talk about the perspective. Because when you started versus who you are now, you have gained a lot of perspective, which I'm sure 95% of the people who are watching doesn't have.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the kind of you feel or everything, your perspective, and I want to understand that. And first time we got on a call for the podcast or something, you said something very nice. It's still stuck in my head. And you said that, a lot of people just think that we are IP lawyers. And we are way more than that.
Yes.
Like, there is so many more things than just being, when you rep a client, it doesn't mean like I just don't help them with, hey, ki aapka trademark or logo ho gaya. There are so many other things. And then we couldn't talk much about it. I wanted to understand, what do you mean by that? So, like, what is so many more things?
So here's what I tell people, right? I think I particularly have gotten dubbed as an entertainment lawyer or as an IP lawyer. I think what people fail to understand is, or are not able to grasp enough from the outside, is that where there's no such thing as, and I say this all the time, there's no such thing as the Entertainment Act of 2022. Okay. Right? There isn't. It's not a statute. So what is entertainment law? It's so many different things, right? Today, for example, a large part of our clientele is talent. Today, talent is doing a film, could be buying equity, could be investing in something, could be wanting to move from India to another nationality or to another country, could need to move assets, could need to set up a charitable venture, might want to set up a private trust, could be getting a divorce and would have to look at a big arrangement or a settlement, or could be wanting to plan their estate for future generations to come. You could be involved in a controversy, could be dealing with defamation, might get called out for Me Too, might get arrested. Are you seeing the variety of legal areas that covers?
Yeah.
So one day you're looking at laws to do with narcotics, to another day dealing with the POSH Act and sexual harassment at workplace, to copyright, to companies law.
You rep them for all of these things.
Yes. as much as
Ah.
we can. So that's why we say that we're a full service firm that caters to a specific sector.
No, fair. So tell me, I have a very basic question. When do you think, now that the talent is growing in India, like everybody who's creating even just a small video on YouTube is a talent itself, and you never know that tomorrow that one video can change his or her life's course, right? So when do you think a creator or a talent, because earlier this was like you had to give auditions, you had to get into the Bollywood to become a singer, to do this,
Yeah.
right, or become an actor.
Yeah.
Now you just need one video.
Right.
Like you just need one video to become the best singer, to the best actor, to the best, right? You need one video to prove your talent in the world.
Right.
So when do you think a creator needs a lawyer?
It's like asking, when do you think I need to go to a dentist to get my regular cleaning done?
So like regularly I just go talk to the, but what
It's a
all
matter of
area, like
hygiene.
give me specifics, like where, let's say we are a creator, okay, and I want to make this for every creator.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna chop this clip out and send it to all my creator friends.
Done.
Okay, and just
I have
let's
so much creator checklist and suddenly I'm drawing a blank. I'm like, shit, nothing is like coming to my mind right now. Because I put so much time and energy like creating checklists for exactly this, right? Like, listen, what are handy tools that creators can have? Because
Yeah.
you're right. I think everyone thinks that a lot of people think that they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Or that, when do I need to go to one?
Exactly.
Right?
I tell you, okay, I'll give, I know at least 20 of my friends, all above the followers of million plus. We all are having startup equities. We all have like getting, deals in exchange of media. We're getting equities, we're putting in money, we're investing in a couple of startups. We all have our, let's say, clothing lines or like couple of things,
And
right? We all
everything
have
is
like
being looked
multiple.
at by a CA.
Exactly. Like 20 people, I know 20 for sure, none of them have a lawyer. Maybe one or two have.
We're talking of creators today, some of the biggest names in this country, right? Even when it comes to film and music, do not have a lawyer. It's just being run by managers, agents, or
Exactly.
good old CAs. हमारे CA ने agreement check किया
हाँ,
है, right?
यही होता है.
Or even worse, your agent is sort of looking at the document, or their lawyer is looking at the document for them and for you, and people don't even understand simple things like conflict of interest, right? So I think going back to your question, obviously it's never too late, and like they say, prevention is better than cure. So it's a matter of hygiene, right? Just as you have an agent, a manager, a publicist, a stylist, a nutritionist, a gym trainer, start thinking about a lawyer in the same sense, because you need general advice, because so much is happening day to day. But even if
But
you
what do I
don't,
do? Let's say
right?
I don't think of it this way. That, hey, I need
So
to go
I'll
talk
give
to
you
a
an
lawyer.
example.
Yeah.
Like now you're saying that you guys have invested in so many equities, right? I don't know who is even seeing that shareholder agreement so many times, and I've seen this over and over again from experience, where talent thinks that they've invested, and there's a press release and the world knows that, oh, XYZ has partners with so and so, and is now Equitas on the shareholders list. When time really comes to it, they don't as much as have a simple share certificate. How are you going to prove that you are a shareholder? Where is that, right? What were you waiting for? Another classic one that I see is where, and this has also happened, where someone believes that, oh, I started something with, my friend, and I wanted to partner with them, and, I'm going to be the face of the brand, and, it's done, and I'm going to, yeah, I'm a part of the company. And you go and look it up. All they are is a director, which actually is bad, because you're not in charge of the day-to-day management and affairs of the company.
Yeah.
You've put your name there on the board, and half the time you're fighting I want to be the director in the company, not realizing that, dude, you're going to be liable for a lot of things. You're too busy being talent and being artist and being creative and front facing. It's
Don't be
bad
the
enough
director.
that
Yeah.
you have so much of other issues to worry about from a liability point of view. The last thing you want is to also sit on the board of a company where you're not seeing day to day. Even worse is they think that being a director is the same as being a shareholder. People don't understand the difference between the two, right? Another popular one that I hear is, we've started this, and I have, we've decided that we have this sort of, where we all have equity or we have stake, to only find out that actually a company doesn't exist.
Yeah.
right? It's just a name. We
Word.
started a brand. There is no real entity. How is the money coming in whose account? It's coming in one person's account. Or या तो उसके नाम की कोई दूसरी company थी उसमें सब आ रहा है. So is it a revenue share arrangement? A revenue share versus equity are two very different things, right? So I would say at the very least, at least at the time of doing a transaction, even if it is between friends, at least at that point of time, get a professional to look at it. It's like this, right? I can't um I can't get into a studio and fix a song or create music, right? Sure, you can maybe some people can have some fun with it. You can do a
Yeah.
little bit of DIY, but I don't have that skill
Yeah.
set. It's the same, right? You can't
Hmm.
DIY being a lawyer. So don't try it.
I'll ask one more thing. Okay, let's say a lot of creators have digital IPs. Let's say we have figuring out as a podcast. Do you think this can be saved, or should we save this at all?
Why shouldn't you? Everything
Like,
is an asset, right? For our generation, it's
so,
like the equivalent of owning real estate.
but then let's say, so for example, let's say if somebody, I'm just asking like a very random question because it's so common that I don't even think that it can be saved. That tomorrow, can someone else go out and start a figuring out podcast?
I was actually just going to address that first. The important part is to understand what is the IP. We use IP so loosely,
Exactly.
right? Someone will say that, like with the podcast, there are different criterias for what qualifies as intellectual property to begin with, right? Now, if I take the example of this podcast, it's a podcast, it's an interview, there is a host and there is a guest. There is nothing. It's
Yeah.
the most commonly seen format type.
Conversation format type in the world. Yeah.
There is no IP in that,
Okay.
right? What is their IP in? The IP is one element of your IP is your trademark, the
Yeah.
title of the podcast. The other element of the IP is this actual recording, right? This entire conversation between us that has IP, that has copyright in it. So, can someone just chalk this, cut this up and use it somewhere else without your consent? No. That is what you will protect, right? Whether it's the entire visual, so the audio visual that we have, or let's say someone just stripped the audio, just stripped your lines and used it separately, used my line separately. All of these individual elements have intellectual property in them by themselves and as a whole. So that's the IP that you need to protect.
But okay, fair. Now, so first part and the second part. Let's say first part is someone else starts a new. Let's say this podcast figuring out with Raj Shamani. Okay, the figuring out.
Right.
Tomorrow, can you go out and like figuring out with Priyanka? Can you
Of
start
course
that?
not. And that's why we got you a trademark
Huh,
registration.
like that.
Right.
So nobody else can do that.
No,
is it?
but that's
But
the
can
other
people
thing.
write, let's say, figuring it out, something like that?
No, so
the
trademark
variations?
law also, like people will put, sometimes they say, oh, I'll put an extra letter. But I'm like, no, it's still phonetically similar, right? So there are different tests and parameters to see what, and it is slightly subjective when it comes to infringement, right?
Okay,
Because
yeah.
you need to compare two things to really get to the bottom of it and see, like with you, for example, figuring out now there is a certain brand value, there's a certain recall, right?
Yeah.
If someone did some variation of it, the test is that to your audience or to just general members of the public, do they draw an instant connection between you and this new podcast? If the answer is yes, then of course that's a problem. It is infringement. But that's one part of it, is to recognize.
Yeah.
The other part, which no one believes in doing, and it fails to escape me, is to take action for it. Every time someone will say that, "Arey yaar, but this person did that," and my question is, "To aapne kya kiya? Did you write to them? No. Did you at least file a takedown report? Because you can't go to a lawyer, but did you file it? No. You'll go and rant about it to your friends, or like sometimes shame someone on social media, but why aren't you taking corrective course of action?" So I would say to all the creators who are listening, there are two parts to it. One is, of course, you recognizing that there is infringement, or just there is something wrong that's happening, whether it's, someone misusing your own work, not making payments on time, wrongfully terminating you. So one part is recognizing it promptly. The other part of it is, please communicate that, bring it to the other person's attention, not to the world at large. Not, yes, social shaming can have its own sort of, cycle, and I'll leave each one to its own. But, as far as the law is concerned, communicate it to the other side. Tell them what is happening and what you feel has happened. You don't necessarily need to go to a lawyer, write a simple email.
Yeah.
Take screenshots, don't delete things. Don't be quick to just block it out of your memory. Take screenshots and then delete it. So yeah, just
That's
simple hygiene
these are
tips.
the simple things. And then okay, the next part of it was the clip chopping part, because it happens with a lot of creators. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
very okay with like somebody chopping this thing and like just use it everywhere, left, right, center. But a lot
More
of people are not.
visibility.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
visible. Like I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
I do content because I wanted to get multiplied.
Right.
I'm happy to go do it. But a lot of people have a very different format and their clips get chopped down, right? And then the other channel has more views and the other channel makes more money. So what do they need to
Again,
give
just
every video to their lawyer to safeguard it and then they can take action, or they don't need to do anything, and when somebody uses it then only they can take an action?
so
Like, is there a process
a
behind
lot of infringement or a lot of copyright infringement is reactive more than proactive, right? Proactively आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो really. How can I preempt that someone is going to take my visual and put it on their channel? But reactive में, like with YouTube, and I think these are simple things. You don't even need a lawyer. Pretty much every creator has someone who's monitoring their YouTube channel, right? You have MCNs or you have affiliate networks that you're a part of. You're a distributor. You have content ID. It's telling you when your video is being monitored on someone else's channel.
Yeah.
You have the option right then and there. Not even you or whoever is managing your channel, that either strike it down or simply monetize it, right? Then you have to decide or give instructions to whoever is managing your life on that YouTube channel that, listen, this is my stance. Like, for example, with music, right? And cover versions on
I was gonna say.
YouTube.
So forget YouTube. Let's talk about Instagram, because Instagram doesn't have all these options. So
Right.
let's say cover version. I am a singer. I sang a song, and now somebody sang like a cover version of it, and that has more views and more visibility than me.
Have you seen my recent true or false? It is
No.
exactly on this one about my cover version is more popular than the original.
Yeah.
Right? 9.9 out of 10 times, the person who created the cover version in the first place themselves don't have authorization to create it. So when you also created it, you also based it off of someone else's work, right? You're being so touchy about someone else using your version, but is the version that you created itself authorized? You need to first evaluate that answer. So go, whenever you're trying to create a cover version, you have to have an authorization. Not just the artist, whoever owns the rights, correct? Whoever owns the rights. That's again a big distinction between authorship and ownership. Just because I wrote something, I created something, doesn't mean I'm necessarily also the author, also the owner. I could be the author, but I may not always be the owner. So that's number one. So with cover version, with music, the author may not at all times be the owner. So if you think a song is done by XYZ, you need to find out who owns it. Please get authorization. I think that's a general thumb rule for using anyone's content, right? Get authorization. And I'm not saying necessarily get a license and pay a hefty fee, but get some sort of go ahead which says that, yes, you have my blessings to go ahead and use my work. It's just showing the sort of respect that you expect, right, for the work that you're creating. So one is that if the cover version is authorized, great. If it is in fact authorized and now somebody else is using it, you can reach out to that person and ask them to take it down, or say you're not comfortable with it, or if you intend to license it, then please license it. Saying that, listen, I'm okay for you to use it. Like, for example, I think just a few days ago, there was this whole controversy about a Chinese creator who'd written a poem, and then it was in an Audi ad that became really popular and went viral. And it was the internet that sort of figured out that, wait a minute, this poem was written by this influencer. It was unlicensed. And at the end of that entire controversy, he said, I'm happy for you to have it gratis. I don't want a fee. It's just the acknowledgement that, yes, this was my material. Right? So that, I think, is ultimately is your call as a creator. But yes, when it comes to using any third person's intellectual property, I guess treat it the same way as you would your own.
Fair. Wow, these are the like small things which I've never thought of. Okay, so in the beginning, let's go to the part of we both believe in human capital part, right? And tremendously networking, right? And you're a big believer of that as well, right?
Yeah, I have a different take on networking.
Okay,
but
go
I'll
ahead. Tell me, what's a different take? I have a take that like I believe in forming relationships, not networking.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Because when people see people like you and I, everyone assumes that we're the sort of people who probably turn up at every social event, every conference, stick your hand. I'm like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you.
No way.
And I just cannot do it. I suck at it. I am horrible. I cannot. I mean, it's rare that I would go out. If I did, I'd probably be the one just holding onto a glass and sipping till I found someone familiar. But I think if so, for me, it's not networking. It's relationship building. It's about just no agenda, getting to know someone and getting someone else to know your story. And I think for me, those are some of the most beautiful, amazing, stimulating conversations, and that convert into meaningful relationships. If I can't hold a conversation with you that's not engaging, where I have not even managed to engage your attention, I don't know where the relationship is going to go.
That's part ways right now only. Like, that's the point. Wow, you killed my next question. I was going to ask you exactly this question. Let's say I'm at a party and there's someone I have an agenda with and I want to go talk to them. How do I do that? You killed it. But there must be situations where you want to talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Like, because, so I completely agree with this, that even I'm a big believer of let's go talk to people and understand them without any agenda. And that's what I've been doing. And that's the foundation of why I've been able to get like good people in my life. Like, a lot of people look at like, how do you reach out to this person? How do you reach out to this? And I'm like, ये कल मुझे WhatsApp बोला था भाई मैं सिरम कौन सा लगाऊं? And I'm like, boss, what? Right, that is the kind of conversation, right? There was so this specifically, it happened recently.
कौन बोल रहा है? What serum लगा? I'm curious now.
He's a startup founder. His company is valued at right now $7.5 billion.
Wow.
Right, and he's like one of the most celebrated founders in the country.
Amazing.
And somebody's asking me, how did you get him like on your podcast? How do you are friends? He posted something about you, and I'm like, that is now what you see. I know him since like a year.
Exactly.
Okay. And since then we have had a conversation where he's asking me ki, I saw your new video. Now, last time I saw you, you were really dull. This time you were like really, your skin's glowing. Tell me, what are you using?
I'm also going to ask you this now.
So this is the and this is what happens when you go build a relationship beyond just work.
What are you using? We could have done a shameless brand plugin for you.
No, the brand is not paying me. The brand is not paying me. Pay me, so I'll talk. But yeah, so that's the relationship that you build. But there are some times where you're at a conference, because we keep going to certain conferences. Yeah. Sometimes you're a speaker, sometimes you're an organizer, and you wanna talk to somebody. Or sometimes you're just an attendee. Right. You want to go talk to someone. How do you initiate it? Like, what do you do? I always struggle with this.
Yeah, I think I struggle with it till date. One of the things that has worked out for me that I tend to do is if there is someone that I really want to connect with, I'll try and find what is it that we have in common, or sometimes even who is it that we have in common. And I've found that someone else's endorsement of you tends to be a better way of opening a conversation with that person. And I think it's only natural, right? Yeah. Look at just even forget business, but even offline, when someone, even socially, you'll be like, hey, you know what? I think you should really meet this person. I know this person because I went to college and blah, blah. And, you're already feeding off of this person's experience of who they want you to meet. And that's helping cast an impression in your mind. So when I think some part of the job is already done that way. So that's one thing that has always helped me in the past, and equally I'll do it for someone, right? And so and I think it's just that, like, hey, I met someone really cool, and you're like, I think this person will be so great. Like, they just need to, I don't know what's the agenda, but I think they should know each other. It's one of those things.
You'll be the enabler.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Same. Because I think people have done it for me so much. So that's my go-to strategy.
That's good. I have
a feeling I'm like stealing all of your tools.
I have a tricky question on this, okay? And before that, I'll share this. So, same vibe. Like, I connect people left, right, center. In fact, like my friends, like my childhood friends, they tell me, यार
that we'd have a business out of this, no?
नहीं कहते हाँ भाई इतना अच्छा नहीं होना चाहिए, हर किसी को क्यों कनेक्ट कराता रहता है? Like, why are you doing this? Like, that person is not nice, this, like, that person not gonna help you. Why are you connecting him to him? And I was like, boss, like, how does it matter? Yeah. Like, if I can, then why not? Yeah. I was like, you got to meet this person after 2 years of work. Why are you making it easy for someone? I was like,
it's fine,
because it took me 2 years. I don't want anyone else to take 2 years.
And I find this hilarious, right? Especially in the industry, in the entertainment business. phone book access. Oh my goodness. People are like guarding it. Like, I don't know what, you
Yeah,
know.
it's as if that it's an ancestral property which they can't share it with anyone else, and they've got
And
it
I'm like,
in.
dude, it's just an email ID or it's a phone number. And I say this all the time. I think, especially in today's world, I think access is so easy. It's what you do with that access. And
Yeah.
people fail to see the difference between the two. Just because I got XYZ's number, so what? What after that? There has to be something more, right? For the person to engage with me. But this whole insecurity, exactly what
Yeah.
you said, that, no, don't share it and protect it. But yeah, I think it's just the exact opposite. I feel you have something, spread it out. It'll come back to you in different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even if it
You
doesn't, it's
keep
fine.
connecting, people
Just
are gonna
do
keep
it. Yeah,
connecting you. So
yeah,
that's always the
yeah,
belief. But my question was on the grounds of, let's say, when you want to form a relationship, it's easy. Okay. Like, why I'm telling you why it's easy, because I'll tell you what I do. And then but the next thing is, when you have work and you know
yeah,
that the other person like extremely busy, is the
yeah.
talk of the town, or maybe like talk of the conference, and everybody wants to be, everybody wants their attention. What do you do then? Like, then the person is not ready to be like, chalo boss, hum aapke dost bante hain, chill karenge. No, like the
Not at
person
all.
is straight on point, right?
Yeah,
So what do you do in that situation? Because with the relationship building, like when you want to form a friendship, I've made a good model for myself, at
right.
least, is like, this is how I do. So I believe that people like people who are like them, or
Yeah.
people like people who like them.
Okay, I love that.
Right? So these are the only ways.
Right.
Now, how do you make sure that people either like you,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like, right, by doing these two things?
Right.
So every time I go to meet someone at a random place, a stranger, I play a game. Name, place, animal, thing. You've heard of this game?
Yeah.
Right? So I play name, place, activity, thing. So
Okay.
start with name.
Okay.
So let's say I don't form a connection on name, there's nothing ring to it.
Right.
Then I'll be like, place. Oh, what place are you from? And then I try to connect a dot. Oh, you're also from this city. You're from this city. Maybe even if the cities are different, maybe both are in north, maybe both are in south.
Some
That's it,
thread.
right? Some thread. Tier 2, tier 3, tier 1, like something, right? If that didn't work out, let's talk about activities. What are the
That's
activities you
amazing.
enjoy? Let's say if not activities work, like then things. Like, what are the things that you're doing right now? Like, or
I
would
might
you
just
go-
borrow that. That is very, very useful.
Yeah, so like I always play this game, name, place, activity, thing. It just works wonder. You'll never have to worry about what to
Yeah.
talk to a person.
I agree. I agree. I think it's phenomenal. And you're right. I think in my own subconscious way, probably for me, the go-to thing has also always been connecting the dots. Can I
Yeah.
find a common connection or a
Common
common
thread.
link with this person? But I think, just going back to conferences and events, because I think that can be very overwhelming sometimes. And you're right. You just have that little window and you're
Exactly.
seeing and the
Like
person's
1
right
minute.
there. I think what helps me is just have a really quick, sharp, I don't want to say elevator pitch, but
It's
I
done
would
and dusted.
say,
Ab nahi bacha
yeah,
elevator
it's
pitch.
not that. I think it's just about I think take the agenda out of it. Sometimes it's just about, okay, why is it so important for me to say hello to this person, right? Or for this person to know that I exist. Just boil down to that. I think it's honest, it's just authenticity. I think that's what it's. Hi, I'm so and so. I've been following XYZ. I think it's incredible what you've done, and that's that. Although I must say, I think it is rare that I have done it. I cannot think of times that I've done it because I just feel it's so forgetful, right? I'm not making a connection. If it's someone that's really important that I want to connect with, I would find a way to do it outside of that conference when I do have their undivided time and attention. I mean, think of you and I, right? If we're at a place where, we're saying hello to 50 or 100 different people, how much of it is truly registering, yeah, as quality?
Fair. I also, I mean, I completely agree to this, because get them when you have their undivided attention. But still, I have like a trick which I play.
Please tell
Like
me. I
this,
could use it.
which-
I'm really bad at this.
Okay, so there are two times, like two situations every time I'm trying to reach out to someone in a conference, like the 50 people, right? So one can be, I just want to appreciate and make sure that this person knows I exist, right? This is
Right.
one situation. The other can be, I want something from them.
Okay.
So when I want something from them, it's easy. It's like, just answer one question
Right.
with him. With him is, what's in it for me?
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
so if I'm reaching out to you,
Right.
the only question you're gonna ask, so what? I'll be like, hey, I'm Raj, I do this. So what? Like,
Yeah.
what's in
or
it for
like,
me?
yeah.
Like,
What can I do for you? Or
yeah,
like, how
like,
can I? Yeah.
like, you're gonna, in your head, maybe you're gonna be polite and out, but you're meeting 50 people. It's like, हाँ तो मैं क्या करूँ? Like, like, what's in it for me, right? So if I can answer that on your behalf,
Okay.
then I've gotten your attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So either I play that when I want something, it's like I don't go with the pitch that, hey, I want this. No. Hey, you know what? You want this. And the moment you play that, you turn around, at least you get next 3 minutes. Then if you fuck up, you fuck up. But
That's
you
true. That's on you. Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah.
But after your 30 seconds, you get 3 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
I've just 10x your chances of getting
Yeah.
someone.
I love that. I'm going to test it out. I'm at a conference next week, actually. I'm going to test this.
So that's...
I'm going to whiff someone.
So that's like what's in it for me. And the other is, let's say when I don't have anything, but I just want to be like, I want to know that you know that I exist.
Right.
I'm just going to come out to you and going to be very specific about a compliment. So I'm not going to be like...
I don't know how much I can do that with my gender.
No.
It could be, and that's the other thing. As you were saying this, I'm like, it could be very easy, and it has happened. I'm very easily misconstrued.
But so this is what I play usually. So even with my gender also, it's gonna be difficult, right? It's gonna be difficult. Let's say you are and like we don't know each other. Randomly, I come up to you and be like, so that's where the trick is. I won't compliment you on your physical attributes. I'll always compliment you on your thoughts or your preferences.
Okay.
Right? So I can either be like, let's say if I have nothing to say, I can be like, you know what? The shoes, and I like specifically this thing about your shoe. That's why it got my attention. If I be like, oh, nice shoes. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Right? But if I be like, oh, you know what? Let's say, oh, these are like, let's say Jordan Pandas, right? When did you cop them? I really love these shoes.
Yeah.
I was trying to get them like last month. I was not able to get it. Did you get it last month or before that?
But see, again, it's about connection, right?
Yeah.
Find that thing.
Find, like, be very specific. Either that or I can be like, you were on a panel.
Right.
And I told you, hey, good talk. No. I can be like, hey, you know what? That person asked you this question. And the way you addressed, and these were the two things which highlighted.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I think I can use so much of that.
Yeah.
You should definitely focus on that part way more than what you did today. Now I've gotten your attention.
Yep.
And I've told you, boss, तुमने 60 minutes में ये 60 seconds जो बोला था ना, ये best था.
That's because you paid attention.
Exactly. So that's what. So when you were like really, really specific about someone's thoughts, then people remember you. The chances of remembering you higher, because everybody's so shallow when it comes to giving compliments. Nobody's thinking deep.
Not at all.
So if you are the person who's going to like be really, really deep, if you're complimenting people on intelligence, not on the way they look, you won them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me, what do you... let's talk about this, because you've gained your way up, right? All the young women who are watching this right now, what do you feel like? What is that one thing you don't want them to face? Like what's the hardest thing you faced, and how do you come up with that? Okay. And what was the easiest thing? And you thought, chalega, but then that actually became like, oh, it was not that easy, or it was not like something.
Oh my goodness, this is a very, very tough one, because
it's good, no? It's good. Like finally we're getting to tougher questions.
You got me thinking.
Think. Like think hard.
More so because I think I always in the early days, or in my relatively younger days, took the position that I think you're also partly naive, and partly because you're just like, bas ye karna hai. I think so many factors don't matter, so many barriers don't matter, including those driven by gender, where aap soch bhi nahi rahe ho that, oh, it's because of this that mere saath ye ho raha hai. It doesn't occur to you. It's only sometimes much later. I think now when I look back, I'm like, I did not put that together. But I think there's beauty in that, because you're not bogged down by all of these barriers. So I think that's still something that I would say to all the young women out there, that don't think about it. These are all external factors, they're barriers. It's like how you prep for a race, right? And I think that's what comes from like competitive training or playing a sport, that, just focus on you and you being you, honing yourself and getting better and better and better. It'll all, hopefully, few years later, you might look back and say, oh, that thing standing in my way was a factor of this. But at least in that moment, don't focus. It doesn't deserve your time, energy, attention at all. So, and it's not there, right? If you don't recognize it, it doesn't exist. It's like giving attention.
Oh, This doesn't work, okay? This only works in hindsight. Like this only works from like when you,
No, but I'm telling you,
but
I
like
was
when
so
you're in the
stupid.
situation,
Now when
you
I look back at it, I'm like, अरे मुझे नहीं समझ में आया तभी like, okay, but you know,
like
just
it's easier for you to say right now, or maybe like someone who's been through the situation, easier for them to
because
say that.
I had
But in
so much
that
other shit to
situation,
deal with that the last thing was like, oh, this. But I'll tell you one thing that was difficult, right? And since we're having like an honest conversation, I will not be my politically correct
okay.
self. And I think more so now when I look at this in hindsight, I think to a certain extent I would say boys club. And I say this because of both. I think the legal profession as well as entertainment. Uh, whether we like to admit it or not, there are a few gatekeepers, right, of the business. And I think sometimes, especially as someone, and again, I think maybe it's got nothing to do with gender. It's probably just about someone being new on the scene. It could be anyone, but I think any person who's new on the block has faced resistance from certain gatekeepers. I think actually, yeah, let's put it that way, right? There is a club, and as a person that's on the outside trying to break into it, you'll always face a certain resistance. And I wish that my younger self knew how to recognize that, knew how to deal with that in a better manner. I think because I didn't recognize it, sometimes as a new kid on the block, you end up doing a lot of things because you're like, I'm the shit. Like,
Yeah,
ठीक है
yeah.
क्यों ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है ऐसे करके दिखाते हैं. And it's much later you realize when you're being quote unquote punished or being reminded of no बस ये ऐसे होता है because, right? So I truly feel that I wish there was someone senior or more seasoned or experienced that would have told me no uncertain terms that Priyanka, what you're trying to do is great, how you're thinking is great, I appreciate the enthusiasm or the drive, but these are the rules that
You don't
are
mess around with.
important to respect, not to play by but respect it. I think I eventually did learn it down the road, and I'm not saying that I played by them, but I certainly found my way to still be me whilst not whilst carrying everyone in all of that club with me. So I think it's that one thing would have saved me perhaps some amount of time and heartache.
Fair. So
Yeah.
now that we're talking about boys club, okay, I have a
Gatekeepers.
gatekeepers. Sorry. Cut.
Cut, gatekeepers.
No, I wanna like I always question myself and try to understand that now, like in the artistic world, we have like like when it comes to art, the creative field, we have women killing it in the top. Like they absolutely killing it, right? But still in the entrepreneurial world right now, we've not seen that much. Maybe they're like exceptionally well women leaders and founders. They're killing it on top. Like right from Indra Nui to now we're talking about Ghazal and Vinita, what they're
Yeah,
doing in
and you have
India, right? I think
Falguni Nair. You
the
have so many.
Falguni, like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
having fun. But still the ratio which you look at, okay, let's say talk about unicorn club,
yeah,
right? There are 100 unicorns, right?
yeah,
Rarely that it's like someone who's like a women led
yeah,
completely
yeah.
company or a founder or like a unicorn, right? Now, so I used to think that, oh, because there are more boys, that's why it's just a ratio. But when I looked at in our country ratio, there are, for every 1,000 men, there are 1,032 women.
There are a lot of women in the workforce. There are.
There are, like, right?
Yeah.
It's not that. What do you think is the reason why we have less women entrepreneurs?
Um, I think it's because we clearly don't we're not less in terms of numbers. I think what
Yeah.
we lack is generally infrastructure,
Okay.
because a lot of women tend to drop out of the race at a certain point of time, and not because of and I think every time we're having this discussion, we tend to see it only in the lens of bigger metropolitan cities, but I'm saying that think of India and at a grassroots level also, because that's where really our numbers are coming from. um, Even today there is no infrastructure in place, right? The primary caregiver, for example, is still the mother. Or just look at the kind of support system around her, right? Even if she has to go to work, what is happening to the child? Like I'll give a small example. Just the other day we have somebody that works with us who's daughter has delivered, and this is the second child, and he said to me, the father, that the older child, his granddaughter, is not going to school and she's at home. And I was like, why is that? He's saying, no, because my daughter's just delivered a second child, right? So I was like, yeah, but she has a husband, right? And she has a mother-in-law. It's like, no, the mother-in-law has clearly said, I'm not going to do it, and the husband has to go to work, right? And now I'm talking about workplaces, not in the sense of sophisticated workplaces that have, like, a play area and all of that for the kids. Think of regular workplaces, right? People who got, not a fancy ass job. It is also a little stupid na, to expect that, how, if even if that father wanted to, wo kya karne wala hai? What is he going to go tell his boss that, hey, listen, at lunchtime every day I need to go pick her up, bring her back, and then come back to work? I don't know, with the level of employee that he is in that organization, or where he is just generally in his career, in his life, is he going to have that luxury, right? Equally, this woman's at home. So I'm saying, we don't have infrastructure. We still don't have it. We're trying, and we're trying in certain spots, in certain areas, but I think at scale it's still lacking. Socio-culturally, I think we're still far away, right? I mean, just the other day in office, some of the girls were saying that, they're putting their bio datas together. I'm like, why are why is it that you feel you are only full if you're going to have,
A significant other.
yeah? And then we were discussing what all goes into these biodatas, and that's a completely different story. And this, I'm talking about Bombay, like, right, upscale Bombay. But I think there's still a lot of
Infrastructure support.
homework, a lot of infrastructure. Think of couples who are in long distance marriages, yeah, where the wife is in one city, the husband is in another city. What are you going to do with that child? And both are working parents. She is going to remain with the mother. The mother is going to multitask, and there's only this much you can do, right? So I think infrastructure is something that we still need to put in a lot of work and effort on.
That's true. And so I recently, like, one of my business coaches, like, like they got a baby, but she's a baby girl now, right?
Right.
So, and I loved what he said. Okay, and I want to point it out because exactly it's like, and he told me that, hey Raj, I'm gonna take an off for next 6 months because me and my wife, like his name is Rajiv and Bhakti, like, we have decided we're gonna take turns.
Right.
And we're gonna make sure that, because we both are working, so 3 months I'll work, then 3 months she'll work, or I don't remember the exact timeline he said, but he's like, we have divided the entire year in a way that we both get to work and we both get to be with the daughter. Right. And I was blown away with this.
Yeah.
Right, because I've never heard this before, where a father is equally involved and is not expecting out of the mother to just be the primary caregiver. It's like, because they both have personal life and professional life, so they
Right.
want to do it, right? So what do you think, what can we do that we start spreading this kind of mindset around? Like, how can we start doing it? Because this is the idea that, hey,
But we
X
find this
X
unique. I have to say this. I think it's only I think Indians find it unique.
because it's not very common in our country.
Yeah, and I think I have a very different perspective also, because I've spent a lot of time living in different places, including outside of India, where it amuses me that we find it so unique. Number one. That where we think that, oh, it's something to celebrate or something to sort of give people a pat on their backs. Yeah, ये बहुत अच्छा है, इसका example बनाना चाहिए. Why is it not a part of us, right? I mean, just talking of, just the other day when we were talking about the trolling incident, one of the comments on LinkedIn from a young kid who's still studying in law school was that, oh, how about first you get them to at least pay the bills? And I'm like, what is this kid doing? I mean, this is as Gen Z gets, right? And if he's still thinking that, we're failing.
Yeah.
Right. And just, it's amazing that they have this approach that, hey, let's take turns doing this and going back to our respective professional lives. But that's exactly my point, Raj, that it's a very limited section of our population that has the luxury of doing that. This is not a solution at scale. Can the lady who comes to clean our homes, right, does she and her husband have that luxury? Tell me that. When we solve that and find a solution to that, you'll see women running the unicorn club.
But what can we do? Like, can we start a thread? Can we start a mindset shift? Is there a way that we could help? empower this in some way?
I think so. I mean, there's obviously a lot of dialogue and a lot of conversation. There's it needs a lot of different things, right? Right from advocacy to just resources to making things happen to schemes. What sort of schemes do we have in this country? Nothing. I mean, look at during the pandemic, yeah, how many people had to just
Yeah.
what infrastructure did we have in place for to provide them support, even if in so many countries people were getting these stimulus checks, right? Especially daily wage workers.
Yeah.
We don't even have something really close to that, and it's a joke, right? We're living in so much disparity. Look at the kind of salaries that people are in, especially guys who sort of do some of the more labor intensive jobs in our country. That's your workforce. Empower that workforce. What more can we do? And yes, we're paying taxes. We're actually quite expensive when it comes to the kind of taxes that we pay in this country. Is there a better way to circulate all of that? And I think there's a lot. We're probably not even well equipped to have this conversation, just you and I, because there's so much that needs to be taken into consideration.
There's so much. See, so bottom line is the infrastructure which we need to really focus on from grassroots level in order to bring these
Yeah.
conversations up.
Yeah.
Because this is not a
And I would say,
because because it's clearly I keep asking myself this question because it's clearly not about the capabilities or the ability or the acumen or anything of that sort. Because when you meet like women-led companies or women founders, right? They're fucking smart. Like it amuses me that like how can like she's not having 10 of her as well, like why that?
but you're taking my example. I take inspiration from like all of these women that I've grown up surrounded with, who've like run businesses out of their small homes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so enterprising, whether it's making tiffins. In the pandemic, there was a lady who would come to my doorstep and sell papads, right? And her husband was on the scooty and she would come up and go building to building and do it. I'm like, there's so many of them. Yeah, it's just a question of them finding the right opportunity. I grew up at least witnessing that all around me, and I think there's a lot. For years and years, I've known so many women. Again, when it comes to our working class, who've single-handedly supported their families when husbands have sat at home, right, or been out of jobs or not doing much with their lives, and they'll still put up with everything, put up with a lot of the poor treatment that they got, but still be responsible for keeping it together, going out there and working, making ends meet, raising the kids. We have that. We have that in our DNA, man. Like, I'm a big champion because I think I grew up in that environment.
No, that's true, and it's fascinating because I've also seen that a lot. There was in fact a project which in rural areas one of the FMCG companies were doing where they were empowering the like the like the small shops, mom and pop, like the the female workforce who had like an influence in the society,
Yeah.
right? They would just empower them to open up their shops out inside their houses
Right.
and then start making money. And then like from when they start making like let's say 100 rupees a day, and they were surprised that within 6 months or 7 months they went from 100 rupees a day to 1000 rupees a day to 2000 rupees a day to 5000. That's like massive 20x growth, right?
Wow.
In just 6 months. So,
Yeah.
so these are the things which I've also
But
seen, and that's
I
the
think
infrastructure
I think
which you're
another
saying.
thing also, since we're on this subject, and I feel very strongly about this, is education. It's such a shame that we say that we have the largest youth population in this country, and you have data that's next to cheap and cell phones that have penetrated every town, city, village. मतलब जहाँ पे पानी और electricity नहीं है, cell phone तो ज़रूर है, right? But there's no education, yeah. And how are we raising our boys? Forget the girls, but how are we raising our boys? And look at what they're doing, and just the kind of, you've given them exposure to content without them having the training, the education, the literacy to put that access to good use. And I don't if till I think that's a big part of what needs to change, because that is also partly going to contribute to the social, economic, and cultural environment that we're in, right? Yeah, so I'm saying there's a lot on this subject, and it's probably a whole separate conversation.
No, but it makes so much sense because I've never
It's not
thought of
about
it
the
like
women,
access to
women, and
content.
empower women, but teach the boys.
Yeah, and I've never thought of this way, like access to content as much as of a
Yeah.
blessing is also, it can be a curse
It
for a
is.
lot of.
I mean, go to some of the parts of the country and you would be shocked with like the kind of things that they know and they're doing and they're seeing and then implementing in their lives because that's become their training ground, that's become their education. So, what could have been a really powerful tool is today probably going to be one of your biggest challenges, yeah, because how are you going to shift that mindset?
Wow.
And unfiltered access to content.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I'm thinking. Unfiltered
Right?
access to content. And it's just the way the world works. The content which you should not see is the thing which you're gonna see first.
But
It's
it's
deep.
not even about what you should see and not see, right?
No,
They
that's it. Like
उनको
what the kind of
सिखाया
mindset.
ही नहीं गया है. They've not been taught only anything so that when you're seeing, see, when you watch a piece of content, I watch a piece of content, your takeaway and my takeaway could be very different, right?
Yeah,
You could get inspired by something very different. I could watch the same thing and my inspiration is completely different.
true.
The diff- the key is that okay, you were raised with a certain set of beliefs, values, some exposure to certain things that makes you draw something else out of it, and mine is completely different. So think of this now when you've given so much access to so much unfiltered content without any training या आपको सिखाया नहीं गया, like if you're seeing something like but this is not how women are supposed to be treated, पर उसको किसी ने सिखाया नहीं है ना, मैंने तो ये देखा है इसलिए तो हम ये कर रहे हैं.
Very deep.
Very
I've got into a very
Yes,
deep
this is what
conversation.
happens when you get intellectual people on your podcast.
No, it's good. It's good. Like we go to the last segment of the podcast where I mean, second last. Last is like just like me asking random questions, rapid fire kind of stuff.
Without a hamper.
Yeah,
And
without
without coffee.
because there's no one to win for. No, nothing. They're good. So the last point was where we talk a lot about your glamour life, about your like the like the like the it's the segment we do is association. Right? So who do you think like is right now we're gonna talk about that. You choose your favorite client, you choose your favorite
Arey, my goodness, all
like
politically
someone
incorrect
but
stuff.
ठीक है, 2-3
Okay.
you can take names.
हाँ.
And I just want to know, understand
Shit.
like how is it to work with them, what is the right thing, wrong
Okay.
thing, all of these things. So
Okay.
you want to choose like anyone, you have names that you want me to give names, whatever.
Two, I guess. 2 or 3. Fuck.
Okay.
4. Okay.
5, then 6. Guys, she
Five,
loves
five,
everyone.
five. Pakka
She,
5.
she loves everyone. It's just that we are making her just randomly select 2 things. And
5 things. Okay. Well, okay, I have to give you names of clients.
yeah,
Okay, so I would say Sushmita and Shruti Hassan for sure.
Sushmita.
Shushmita Sen
Okay.
and Shruti
Shruti
Hassan,
Hassan.
because they're also 2 women that I'm doing something very interesting with and I love. And then there's Divine and Pratik because they're very special.
Pratik Kuhad.
Pratik Kuhad.
Wow, I love him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
he's
I love Pratik
amazing.
Kuhad.
And then last I would say AP Dillon. And each one has a unique
The pandemic
reason.
king.
The pandemic king is okay.
If he is king, he nailed like in everywhere, left, right, center,
Yeah.
no matter where you go, from north to south to east to west, in cars and homes and clubs,
Love
AP
it.
is AP.
Love it.
Like it's oh my. There was a point where like we are driving, so we were going from Delhi to Agra, and my friends started playing AP again. Okay. I was like, guys, I'm done. Like
Like it was on loop.
like अब मैं irritate हो एक मुझे नहीं समझ आता like the language, the Punjabi, right? I don't understand. Now in my own version, I have memorized every lyric in my own way, whatever the hell I'm saying, right? और अब मेरे से continuously बज रहा है. Like guys, I'm
Yeah,
done with it. Like
yeah.
let's not talk about AP anymore. So
Yeah.
it's for so just kudos to that AP. Like Pratik Kuhad was my escape from AP because AP was just like in my head 24/7.
Oh yeah, but I think it's been I say him because I think it was very interesting to be able to work with him and his team and all the boys, right? And just seeing what an interesting, unique story, right? And to be able to be a part of that and to be a part of so many firsts in his career, I think for me it's been some of the most fun things that I have worked on in this in the recent past with him and the entire team at Run Up. So I think it's phenomenal, yeah, to witness this sort of a journey with, and like you said, during the pandemic, without any, there's no record deal, there's no publishing deal, and to just build it ground up and to be able to say, I think I always learn something very unique from each of the people that I work with. And with him, I think, again, like with Sushmita, right, it's the power of knowing how to say no. I absolutely admire that. And I think it's something that we, especially, I don't know if it happens to you, but especially as someone who is a professional and who's in the service business, I think it becomes sometimes, actually not sometimes, many, many times, it becomes very difficult to know or to say no, right? And I think it's also part of our training, right? As a people, as a society, that hanji hanji ho jayega, like we get it done. You want it now. It's impossible to get it done in 2 hours, but sure, we'll do it. We're just that, right? And especially with people, and just look at the two extremes, right, between Sushmita and between AP. Two different, very different points in their careers, but just the power of knowing when to not indulge, when to say no, when to be able to, what everybody else might think that, oh my goodness, like, this is great, this is what you want, like, okay, let's say it's going to cost you XYZ, but to be able to walk away from all of that just because you have a vision, you got to stay true to it. Doesn't matter, it's fine. I think for me that's so powerful, and to be in their presence and to be able to pick up and learn from that, for me, is a reminder that, Priyanka, like, gotta stay true to the vision. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And if people are, sometimes when we are in our day-to-day lives and people are saying things about you, of course it affects you, right? When you hear things, and it's a small business, and when I look at them and I'm like, boss, I am so tiny in the larger scheme of things, right? And if they, at where they are, and despite the reputational risk that they face, are still able to stand their ground and turn things down, especially in the way they do it, right? It's not like sort of rubbing in your face, like, dissing people.
Give me an incident of what do you remember specifically, let's say with Sushmita.
I want to say it's all attorney-client privilege.
Okay. No, sorry. Like, give me one.
Unfortunately, it is.
Let's say just let's not like share the
Okay.
of that.
But I tell you,
Give me like a good
I'll
incident
try
or something,
and say,
like when you felt like, okay, this was the best thing about Sushmita, or maybe like one incident you gonna, maybe a story you could share with us.
oh my
You're just
God,
gonna stick to Sushmita and AP because that was the first and last name you took. So I'm just randomly choosing those names.
Done. But I do have to say something about Shruti, which I will.
Done.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick one over the other. But with Sushmita, man, there are so many incidents. But I don't know if actually a lot of people don't know about how I'm in Sushmita's life. Years ago, Sushmita did a pageant called I Am She. I don't even know how old you were then, Raj, and I don't want to find out either, but I'm just going to leave it at that and not feel bad about our age. But and this is when I was still in law school, and Miss India was still a thing, and I think I came from that generation where moms wanted to see their daughters doing the whole pageant circuit, and of course today I have a very, very different view on pageants. But Sushmita, for a period of time, had the rights to the Miss Universe pageant and was doing a pageant where the girl who won her pageant would be the Miss Universe entry. And that's how she and I met for the first time, because I was the very first batch of I Am She. And it was unfortunate because of certain circumstances, I couldn't go through with it and had to sort of step down. But that's how we connected. And sort of, years later, in my different avatar, found a way back into each other's lives. And it's, just to be a part of her journey and see where she is today with her second innings has been phenomenal. But just with her, right? She's inevitably the biggest personality when she walks into the room on any given day. Everything, the way she's lived her life, right? Like, no fucks given, completely unapologetic, has raised these two beautiful young women. And when it comes to, even sometimes when we're negotiating for Sushmita, right? Since you're asking for an incident, I will do my best without breaching any privilege. But even when we're negotiating, and we've acted for a lot of talent that's top tier. And by now, you know what's a give, right? What the other side is going to say that, chalo, theek hai, we'll drop this. And even then, when it comes to her, there are certain things that she'll come up with and she'll say that, but I want X, Y, and Z. And you're like, but Sushmita, this is usually corporate policy, or usually this is this. That is not an answer to give Sushmita, right? And in a good way. And she'll sit down and reason with you. And it's not coming from an unreasonable, starry tantrum. It is perfectly logical. It's fair. She's saying, why can't it be balanced, right? And when she says it, you hear it and you go back. I have gone back out there and argued a certain point or negotiated certain things, saying, no, it's going to be X, Y, and Z because of da 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 da, and it has been accepted. So I think it's that, right? That don't take no for an answer. There is nothing like no, but ye aise hi hota hai,
ऐसे कुछ
right?
नहीं होता है.
You've got to go against the grain, and I think that's a beautiful reminder with Sushmita, yeah, every single day.
Nice. That's probably one thing which I think it's so difficult to practice
Yeah,
because
it
it's
it's also I
it's like
think
you kind of make yourself believe that हाँ यार ऐसे ही होता है. Like it's not even like you don't even think of going against sometimes.
yeah, and it's not also about just going against it or being difficult for the fuck of it, right? It's like, but this is what it is. I don't care about what anybody else. Sometimes even ye bhi hota hai na, but everybody else has signed it.
हाँ.
It's like, to each his own. I don't know what everybody else has signed. I am speaking for myself. And not too many people know this, but actually, one of the most prominent, and it's actually become a precedent today in certain tax matters. And, thanks to Sushmita that we had the opportunity to argue that matter and do this for her, where there was a particular tax claim for some damages that she had received out of an action that she filed many, many years ago. And 15 years later, the claim was still pending. And, in tax matters, you've got to deposit the amount. And we received that money, we argued it, for her to be able to say that, no, this is a question of principle, right? I'm not going to give in. It's fine. Let it take its own sweet course of time to bring us in, to let us revive it, go in there, argue it. We succeeded. And it's case law that today, if a victim receives, damages in a claim, then it's not to be taxed.
Oh,
And that was
nice.
amazing. It also happened at a time when Me Too was at its peak in India. And I think it's good. It's only women like that can hold their ground and say, nee, this is worth fighting for.
That's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
crazy.
in a whole different sense, I'll talk about Shruti because again, we recently just announced something together called Black, which is a company between her and Shantanu, and I'm of course involved as their advisor and partner in crime as I am with most things to do with Shruti. I absolutely love her. It's again been a phenomenal journey seeing her, through her entire career. But even with her, everything she's creative. She's her own brand of art, right? She has a voice, doesn't hesitate, and sometimes I think it's so easy to stereotype women, saying that, oh, this person is difficult, oh, this person is aggressive, oh, this person is entitled, and I think we sometimes forget the ability to see the person without all of those labels.
Yeah.
But with Shruti also, I think she's a great champion. Very recently, I was in this situation where certain things were upsetting me, and she's like, Priyanka, you're one of the strongest women I know, and there are very few people who'll do this. People will give you advice, and let's say you have an issue with somebody else. They like tell you, "Acha, aise kar le, ye bol le, wo kar le." She picks up the phone on the person and says, "Listen, I think it's this, 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 this. I met Priyanka. I sat down with her. I heard this, 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 this. I really would like for the two of you to sit together, get into a room, and talk and resolve this." I cannot think of too many people
Who can do this?
who would do this, and she doesn't need to do it because she has enough and more things to do, but just even as someone with just out of a relationship, just with as far as friendships are concerned, as far as truly supporting and championing is concerned, to be able to put your money where your mouth is, I think for me that's an absolutely beautiful quality in a human being.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's I'm thinking of because so I'm not like very well aware of the entire situation of the art of the things which a lot of people do, but I can totally think of this way because there are a lot of times like ego comes in the play, and you never wanna do the kind of things that
Yeah.
Shruti is doing, and she comes from a
Yeah.
certain level, certain stage, and she has achieved certain things. She never
Absolutely.
has to do it, and I just know like there are a couple of people who I know who are like maybe half or like 1/10 of Shruti and have like more ego than her.
Yeah.
Than,
They'll never pick up the phone and like,
yeah.
छोड़ना मुझे क्यों पढ़ना है?
Uh,
Like, let them figure it out. And she's like,
exactly.
no, Priyanka, it's and she's speaking from experience because there have been enough times, and we know how this works, right? Where sometimes things are just being spoken about you behind your back in rooms where you don't even have the chance to defend yourself,
Yeah.
right? For her to be able to say that it's okay. When you don't need to enable it. Today I'm in a position where I can change that, right? Let me pick up the phone and do this.
Fair.
Yeah, so
Fair.
I think it's a lot to learn from everyone.
and AP से क्या सीख सकते हैं? AP से क्या?
The same thing, yeah, just being your own brand. All the three boys, Shinda, Gurinder, AP, and Kevin, who manages all of them, just to be able to know this is what we want to do. We're going to stay true to it, and
That's what
it's
we do.
so much fun to try and be a part of that. Yeah, where you're told that when someone wants to do something that's out of the box, that's not run of the mill. That's like knowing your worth, saying no. Sure, maybe this is what it is, but we're gonna do it this way. We figure out what happens, right? I think that gives me so much. It gives me it's my own playground to be creative.
Do you face like problems in having like relationships with people because you work a lot? Have you faced that?
Ah, this is a very interesting one. Wow, I can't believe we got through like so much time without addressing this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, like all the time, and I think it's weird. I think more and more now, um, you know, some people who get it and who've seen the journey don't mind it, and I think those are the people who would be like, listen, unconditionally, you do
Yeah.
you, we're here, right? Like recently, actually, I forgot my nephew's birthday, and he's like my baby, right? He's tiny and very close to me, both my niece and nephew, and I just forgot. And it's not like I remembered it, the next day or the end of the day or a few. I just forgot, and suddenly, like I think it was a good 20 days later, something hit me because the two are just a few days apart, my niece and nephew. Sorry, a month apart. And I picked up the phone on my sister. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so, so, so sorry. And she was so cool about it and so
It's
calm. And
okay.
she's like, Priyanka, I love you and he will love you, irrespective of whether or not you wish him for a birthday. And I'm like, I was feeling sorry, and I was like, all teary eyed and crying. I'm like, oh my god, this is so shitty that I couldn't remember. She's like, and even with him, right? He's so young. He's just turned 8, and like just the forgiveness that comes from like kids, right, or from people who truly love you. And he's like, I went and I showed up with something, and I'm like hugging him and kissing him, I'm like crying right while hugging him. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I forgot your birthday. I can't believe. He's like, Masi, does it matter? But you're here now. Like, he couldn't even understand. And I feel that was so beautiful. But equally, with people that you meet, right? And like when you talk of relationships, it's very difficult, yeah, because people either don't get it or they've labeled you and stereotyped you from what they see externally. And I think that to me has been one of my biggest frustrations, that, why is the internet and social media and Instagram is not a measure of the person I am. And I think we all know this because we all, that's how everyone uses social media in your life. So how is it that you're not willing to extend the same courtesy to the other person, right? So I think that has been very, very frustrating. It's a big part, is very challenging, especially when you meet new people. Sometimes people are like, just all sorts of assumptions drawn even before you walked into a room, right? That you are a particular type of person. And very recently, someone I met who just, was so apprehensive about, oh, but will you like eating at this place? ये तो बहुत सादी सी जगह है. Or, oh, आपको ये पसंद आएगा. And I'm like, where is all this coming from? Like, what is this? Why have you made me out to be some sort of a diva? Like, no, but you hang with XYZ. Or, oh, you look a certain way. तो हमने सोचा, like, whatever happened to really discovering people, yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a little
it's a
frustrating.
perception which people have built just because they look
Yeah.
at you at a certain way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I am an opposite. Like मेरे साथ ऐसी problems होती है
Huh.
where I forget things and people don't forgive me. Like
What do you mean? Like they like keep reminding you?
yeah, like I'm the most forgetful person when it comes to birthdays, anniversaries, celebration dates, and all that. I forget everything.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I remember like one birthday I've never, like that's my mom's birthday.
I was just
I've
gonna
never
guess. Has to be mom's
yeah, like
birthday.
never forgot, never. I'm
Such a good
always
Indian boy.
very like I'm every day I talk to my mom. Okay, like I'm like a sweet innocent. Like I love my mom, so because I know that for her nothing else in the world matters, but the fact that कि मेरे बेटे ने खाना खाया कि नहीं खाया. That's all. She doesn't care about anything else in the
It's
world.
cute, right? I
Yeah.
think we should cherish it while we have it. As much as we might want to bitch and moan about it, I think we need to cherish it.
Yeah, we need. You have taken a lot of interviews in your life. Now you're a leader, you're CEO, entrepreneur, right? But we want to test, are you fit for the CEO role which you are in right now?
Shit.
Right? So you have to give an interview like, why should we hire you?
I don't think I'm cracking that interview.
So in your own law
There's
firm.
a reason I'm not working for someone and working for myself.
But that's the thing, right? Like, it's people.
And we have a CEO who's phenomenal, by the way.
So just like, are you fit to run in charge or like
Shit.
take reports from the CEO or no? Is the question in your own firm. It's about your own firm.
Okay.
Are you right to lead the firm? Is it
Okay,
thing,
I'm
right?
not going to come out of flying colors.
Yeah, and then we're gonna ask you the most basic interview question which you found on internet. Okay, it's like
Listen, I am really bad with this shit. I am that
I wanted
person
you don't have much time
who
also.
will crack, who will fare miserably in an MBA interview. मतलब मेरे को स्कूल में एडमिशन भी नहीं देंगे.
मैं भी ऐसे ही हूँ तभी मैं सबके साथ करता हूँ. मुझे मजा
Okay,
आता
can
है.
I take like a deep breath?
Yeah. Go ahead. And we'll only ask you like the questions you ऐसे लगता है top 50 interviews of of.
You're not helping, Raj. Not helping one bit.
क्या हो गया? ठीक है.
Okay, go for it.
We're not making a star. We're making very simple.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Number one, straight up the battle. Okay.
You're making me laugh.
Shh. Okay. Da-da-da-da. Okay. So this is the interview round.
Okay.
Serious,
So even
you're-
Priya's not going to take this
Yeah.
seriously.
You have to be
Priya,
serious
I
in
don't know
that.
if Priya. Okay.
Right. So I'm interviewing other candidates as well. Why should we hire you?
You
Tell me
said
in 2 lines.
You said elevator pitches are outdated, so I can't do elevator
Doesn't matter.
pitches.
Why should we hire you in 2 lines? Tell me 2 things about you. Why should we hire you?
Okay, because I am the hardest working person you'll ever meet, first and last out, and because I am extremely knowledgeable, come with years of experience, and I don't know, I'm great at what I do.
What is your
What
your
is my
biggest-
USP?
What is your biggest strength and a biggest weakness?
Oh, it's the same. I'm an empath. It's my biggest strength and my biggest weakness.
And why would you say that?
I think it's my biggest strength because it gives me the ability to deal with team and build culture in a way that one empathizes with different situations. But it's also my biggest weakness because that means that I always want to fix a problem. And sometimes, not all problems are for you to fix. It's people's problems to fix, and B, that kind of takes away from some of the other larger things that you're meant to focus on.
Fair. If you get a better job at a more salary, would you shift right now or no?
Hell no! For nothing in the world. Not at all.
Why? So then we can give you less salary. It's okay.
You can give me like no salary, you can give me equity.
Okay. Nice. Okay. So I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
One is like, where do you see yourself in next 5 years?
No, I hate this question
know, that's
because
why I
I
love it.
really don't believe in like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. Where do I see myself in the next 5 years? Fuck.
Yeah. That's the kind of candidate we need. You're hired.
Don't have a 5-year plan, doesn't do things for money, is an empath.
That's perfect
This
candidate.
is horrible.
I was just going to ask you, so there's a concept. So what are your salary expectations? But no entrepreneur, no CEO answers that. So that's why I have a better question to this. Every human being has an associated value to their life. Okay. What do you think is your hourly value as per now?
Listen, lawyers get paid by the hour. I am reminded of my hourly value every single hour of my working day, and these are 3 non-billable hours, which my CEO will remind me of.
So this is what.
But wait, what was the question? What is my?
What do you think is your value for per
I think the legal system decides my hourly. Okay, I'm going to give one for the
Politically correct.
podcast.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let's go.
What is my?
So what do you think, how do you value yourself right now? What do you think would be your hourly value of your time?
I think the legal profession reminds me of my hourly rate every single time. As anyone who's worked with lawyers would know, lawyers have hourly rates. I'm not going to give out mine because hopefully I will revise it in due course. But I think I already have a set hourly rate. Can't do much.
You don't want to give a specific because by the time the podcast out, maybe that
I
increases.
might want to revise it, yes. But I'm painfully reminded of my hourly rate and billable hours every single day.
But thank you so much for being here.
Fuck, dude, I'm not thinking what would be my hourly rate. What is? I don't know.
Every time we start business, उसमें ना बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती है जब हम बोलते हैं अरे ये चलता है यार छोड़ो, ये चलता है छोड़ो. एक चीज़ आफ्टर वॉचिंग दिस एपिसोड यू मस्ट हैव रियलाइज कि आईपी और लॉज में नहीं चलता है. यू नीड टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर फाइंडिंग आउट एवरी लिटिल डिटेल एंड तो उस पर स्टिक रहते हो. एंड दस वन मोर थिंग जो नहीं चलेगी, that is you not sharing, commenting, liking and subscribing this channel. Because अगर इतनी value तुम्हें मिल रही है, make sure that you share it with one friend at least. Because when you share it with one friend, you're not only just sharing my video to them, you're helping them get started with the new career, with a new idea, with a new conversation, which has the power to change their life. And the more people come together and change their lives and start their new ideas, the faster we grow our nation and take it to #1 position in the world. So make sure that you share it with at least one person. And thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. Do let me know in the comments, what did you like about this episode? What did you didn't like about this episode? I'm reading all of them and I'm trying to get better every day. If you tell me where I really, really suck, I would love to know that and understand how can I improve that particular part. And if you believe that something I'm doing really good, let me know that as well, because that appreciation is going to tell me that I should keep doing certain things which you really like. Thank you so much. Until the next episode, keep figuring out.